there, Bookty. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here to share a quick review of The Water Dancer by Ta-nehisi Coates. This author is known for his nonfiction writing. So far, he's published 2 nonfiction works that I know about, Between the World and Me and We Were 8 Years in Power. He's also well known as being a journalist for The Atlantic. And this is his debut novel, The Water Dancer. And I don't want to give too much of the synopsis away because in general, I don't like to know too much about what a story is going to be about before I read it. So I'm going to try to review the book without telling you too much about the story. So in brief, The Water Dancer is a reflection on the complexities of slavery and one of the attempts to escape slavery by using what we might call black magic, black girl magic, black woman magic, black man magic, which is the innate ability that we often ascribe to African natives to summon ancestral spirits and call on supernatural powers in order to help them rise above their present circumstances. While Coates' novel is set on a Virginia slave plantation during the height of slavery, it doesn't include one of the characteristics that you might expect in what you consider to be a slave narrative, because this book does not include the graphic descriptions of violent floggings or rape that you might find in books set during this time. In fact, the author is very careful to explore slavery from lots of different perspectives or lots of different ways. What slavery looks like when it's not just floggings and rape. In fact, he uses one of his minor characters, and I shouldn't call her minor, but he uses one of the supporting characters to discuss that idea of enslavement, where she speaks about how women are trapped because they give you babies that prevent you from running. You don't want to leave your babies behind, and so you're forced to stay. And so through this novel, Coates explores slavery and freedom through these different characters, through their different experiences. So what we have here instead on what might be considered to be a pretty conservative plantation where the tasked people are not being subject to daily whippings. Instead, this narrative focuses on the other horrors of slavery, including being separated from one's loved ones without the opportunity for closure or knowing where a person's loved ones have gone to, and also the lack of opportunities to realize one's potential. And of course, there's also the discussion of what freedom looks like and whether true liberty is even possible if one's loved ones are still in bondage. By introducing several characters who are experiencing different kinds of enslavement, Coates does a pretty thorough job of exploring slavery and what slavery looks like from different perspectives, and why, when a person is given that opportunity to flee, why they might choose to remain a tasked person just because they don't want to leave their loved ones behind, or because running seems to have more of a risk than staying right where you are. As an example of that ambiguity, we can look at the main character himself. His mother was a slave woman, his father was a plantation owner, and while that situation was not uncommon, what is unusual is that Hiram's ancestry is claimed by his father. Everyone on the plantation knows that Hiram Walker is the son of the plantation owner, and the father acknowledges him. He is brought into the house, and in fact, he is groomed to become his brother's servant, his legitimate white brother's servant. But he's able to call his brother, he's able to call his father, even though he is a slave or enslaved young man. And while we expect that when Hiram is given the opportunity to run, he will flee, it's also a little of a complexity for him because running means that he's leaving behind his kin, his father, his brother. And as the novel progresses and the main character matures, his quest to escape the ties that would bind him to the plantation, bind him to his family, but also bind him to his position as an enslaved man, are also tied to his unique ability to remember. His ability to remember even painful memories that one would normally repress in order to survive. For him, he has to put himself through the pain in order to experience the pleasure or the power that would come from remembering. I really admire the author's discussion of memories and how one has to remember the past to order the future. I also considered his discussion of identifying and using one's gift. I considered that to be very cleverly done because in this book, he explored how identifying and using one's gift could isolate a person from their present company, especially when the other members of their social group don't quite have the same idea of what their gift should be used for. I thought that he did a really good job of exploring that as a subplot, as a sub topic in this book. My two major criticisms of the book: number one, there were places where it still felt like nonfiction. It felt like this was a fictionalized memoir of a real life main character named Hiram Walker, and Coates had been retained to work as his biographer to present his story to the world. But I suppose there is a positive way to look at that, because Hiram Walker did come through as a real life person. He didn't feel like he was a flat fictionalized character. He felt like a real person that I was reading about. So I suppose there's a positive spin on that critique. My other criticism was that Coates presented a whole lot of characters and sold us on a lot of their stories. But again, that is ambiguous, because while he did introduce a lot of stories and a lot of characters, they didn't always feel extraneous. In fact, their stories could be used to show the flip side to the main plot, the main story that we're reading about, which is Hiram Walker and his experience here on Loch Ness and his attempts to use his gifts to escape slavery. So while there were a lot of other characters, they presented almost the flip side to everything that Hiram Walker was doing. So again, ambiguous critique. Whether you look at it as a positive or a negative maybe depends on how you feel about this kind of book in general. But criticisms or compliments notwithstanding, I have almost no hesitation in recommending this book to you. This is not just another slave narrative. This is not just a book that is about slavery. Yes, it is set during slave times, and yes, it talks about escaping slavery. In here, Coates imagines his main character meeting some of the people who worked on the Underground Railroad during slavery, and what that might have been like to have conversations with some of those people. But this book is more than just about slavery. It's more than just about escaping the slavery that ended in 1860s. The book functions as more of a reflection on what enslavement really means and how one would escape it in whatever format it appears in a person's life. So strong recommendations for this book. I hope that you will check it out if you haven't already. So that's my brief take on The Water Dancer by Ta-nehisi Coates. I'd love to talk with you in the comments if you've read this one and you have other thoughts, or if something I said today makes you want to pick this one up. I'd love to talk with you about it in the comments down below. So give me a thumbs up if you like this video, subscribe if you want to see more, and let's talk in the comments. So until next time, happy reading. Bye.